King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. Directed by Guy Ritchie. The film starts off with King Arthur as a boy, a very young boy, and he witnesses the death of his father by the hands of his very power-hungry uncle, who's played by Jude Law. Very well, in fact. So King Arthur ends up in some other part of the land. I think it's called Londinium. I think it's supposed to be London, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. But he grows up then in a brothel, only later on to return to where he was born. He pulls a sword out of the stone, and then he goes on to seek revenge. So, it's a pretty... That's the basic plot. I'm not going to go into too much detail. It's a pretty simple plot. Pretty basic, you know, you go good versus evil, sort of seen it all before. So first of all, I'm going to mention, I'm a bit delayed with this review. I've only just seen the film, seen it last night. It's bombed at the box office quite badly. And there's been a lot of negative reviews about it. After seeing this film, I don't quite get the large amount of negativity that this film has received. It's quite low on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't quite understand that. I liked this film. I enjoyed this film. And I came out after it thinking, that really was not as bad as people are making it out to be. Right, okay, let's just dive straight into the film. I liked the overall look of King Arthur. I loved the way everything, just the lighting. I really liked the lighting. Everything in this movie felt natural and sort of real. I really liked the textures when it came to the lighting, and I feel like there wasn't really an overuse of CGI, which is what a lot of people are saying. And CGI sets. Yeah, there's big set pieces which required a large amount of CGI, but a lot of the sets that these characters are on are real, or they looked real to me anyway. I mean, especially when they walk in or they go in for the wilds in the countryside. It all looked real, and I really just liked the overall look of this film and the aesthetic of this film. I loved the designs of the creatures, the demons, and all of that. I just really, really dug the look of this film. First, it was very jarring, and what I'm talking about is the way this film was sort of put together, the editing, the very sort of quick, sudden cuts to different scenes and how scenes would play out. So, you know, throughout the film, there was a lot of really sort of quick, sort of sudden moments. You'd have these moments which were played out very, very quickly. And there'd be moments in this film, for example, a moment where you witness King Arthur sort of growing up in Londinium. I think that's how you say it. But in this brothel, and the film sort of just uses these sort of really quick sort of shot of him as he's growing up through the ages. And the overall film is pretty much cut or edited like that. And at first, it was, for me anyway, a little bit jarring. But it did help really sort of infuse this sort of energy and enthusiasm and life into the film. And it did grow on me eventually. And once it did grow on me, I mean, I really did. I got immersed into this film. And I think that was a result of Guy Ritchie's style of directing and the way he sort of put this film together. Even though at first it was a little bit jarring because of the sort of, you know, the quick sudden cuts in editing and the way it was put together. But it really grew on me, and I thought it did inject a lot of life and energy into this film that I felt it needed. Because this is also, I thought, for me anyway, quite a dark film. In fact, you could say the way this overall film was sort of put together, the editing, and it was very erratic. I think that's a good word to use. Very erratic. Okay, the CGI, like I previously said, I don't think it's as overused as a lot of people are saying. I mean, in films like this, you are expected to get a bit of CGI. And there are some really sort of big action set pieces that required a lot of CGI. And at most of the time, it looked okay. There were moments in this film that contained some dodgy looking CGI. I'm gonna admit that. But there were also moments where I thought it looked pretty good, like the introduction to this film, which required a massive battle, large elephants, and they looked pretty impressive. To me, they did anyway. You know, so but there were also other moments in the film where the CGI was questionable. It was okay in places. pretty good in others. It was sort of, I suppose it wasn't really consistent when it came to the quality of CGI in this film, but it was, overall, it was okay. And like I previously said, yeah, there are a couple of moments in this film where you could see they're probably on a CGI, you know, they're on a set with green screen, blue screen, right? And there are a couple of moments in this film that it's a little bit evident because it's a bit dodgy in places. But there are also a large amount of moments in this film where the characters are on an actual set, as in the real world. Do you know what I mean? It looks like they're in the countryside in England or up in the Highlands in Scotland, and it looks real, it felt real, and I really appreciated that. You know, this is a dark fantasy, and it added a lot of, you know, it injected a lot of groundedness and realism to the film, and I really liked that because it helped immerse me into this world and story. So when people sort of complained that there was an overuse of CGI sets and worlds in this film, I have to disagree, because I could tell there were a large amount of moments in this film where you could see the characters were in the real world, they were in the countryside somewhere, and there were a lot of beautiful shots of the countryside. I'm not entirely sure where this film was shot, but you'd have a lot of these aerial shots going over the mountains and over the landscape, and it looked real, and I liked it. Which leads me into the cinematography as well. I really sort of dug the cinematography in this film. That's going back all the way to lighting and all of that as well. When it comes to the overall look of this film, I did really dig the look of this film. So yeah, I really appreciated the real settings, you know, the natural sort of landscape and settings that they were on, or these characters were on, because it really grounded the film in reality. And when it comes to films like this, which is, you know, like dark fantasy, I sort of really appreciated that. So the acting, overall the acting was okay. It was alright. Charlie Hunnam as King Arthur, he was okay. I liked him. You could see he was really enjoying it, and I thought he did a good job at it. The standout for me in this film was Jude Law, who plays his uncle. Well, yeah, eventually he also turns into this sort of demon knight, which I'm going to get into in a little bit. But Jude Law's performance in this film was really, really, really good. First, he was enjoying it. You could tell he was enjoying it, but it wasn't over the top. It was just right. And he played this with a lot of sort of, you could see a lot of sadness, but a lot of anger. And you could tell he was hungry for power, and he had all these sort of a mix of emotions within his performance that you'd see during the duration of this film. And I think he did a really good job at conveying that this character had a lot of trouble going on inside year and year. And as a result of his performance, he added a lot of layers to this character, a lot of depth to this character, which could have, you know, if it had gone another way, if it had gone into another direction, then it would have just been your standard sort of typical bad guy. But down to Jude Law's performance, it ended up adding a lot of sort of depth to a character, which was not just your typical villain, but had a lot more going on. And yeah, so I really did dig Jude Law's performance, and the overall cast were pretty they were pretty good. I ended up liking a lot of the characters, but I do feel like the film should have focused more on all of the other characters. I do feel like they could have spent a little more time with the other characters, especially the characters that Arthur eventually meets and they, you know, teams up together. I think we could have spent a bit more time with them and fleshed them out a little bit more. But I liked them. Like, they all really gave a good performance. The guy who plays Littlefinger in Game of Thrones, he's in this. I cannot remember his name. Goose Fat Bill. I think it's Goose Fat Bill. But he's Littlefinger in Game of Thrones. Well, he's a good guy in this. And I don't know if it's because of Game of Thrones, really. But you're watching him in this, and even though he's a good guy, you're constantly thinking, I don't trust him. He's going to do something. He's going to stab someone in the back. I just don't trust him. And I just couldn't think of him as being a guy that was on, you know, the side of King Arthur, because I thought he was going to do something that would, I thought he was going to, at some point he was going to betray them. And I really think his role as Littlefinger in Game of Thrones overshadowed his role within this. So I think it would have helped maybe if they'd focused a little more on characters like Goose Fat Bill, flesh them out a bit more, because they just, seemed to be there. They were just there. But they were okay. I liked them. I grew to like the characters in the film, but I didn't end up really sort of loving them like I really wanted to. There were some really good action scenes in this. I enjoyed quite a lot of the action scenes. In fact, again, going back to the way in which Guy Ritchie shot this film, then edited it and put it together and all of that. The way the film was crafted, the action scenes had a lot of energy in them. They were quite fun, and the film was accompanied by a very, very, well, I really liked the score of this film. The music in this movie sort of really helped these action scenes as well. I really, really liked it. It almost had a sort of like a heavy metal rock sort of style to it. But yeah, I mean, the score in this movie was really, really, well, I liked it a lot, actually. In fact, I think I liked it so much, I'd probably buy it on CD at some point. And I really enjoyed the climax. There's moments where it gets a little bit sort of generic, you could say, when it came to certain shots and how the way in which the action played out. There's a lot of slow-mo in this film, and you could see there was a moment during the climax or the third act where, it was shot in a way which I think they had 3D in mind, because there was this one moment and I remember thinking, oh, that would have looked good in 3D. But we didn't watch it in 3D because I'm not a massive fan of 3D. I chose the 2D showing, but I enjoyed it. I just enjoyed it. I mean, this wasn't really a bad film like everyone was making it out to be. And there's a moment during the climax, and it reminded me of Masters of the Universe with Skeletor and He-Man. And I loved that film growing up. And the climax of this movie was sort of, it wasn't identical, but it just reminded me, for some reason, it reminded me of the climax of Masters of the Universe. And I really liked it. I really dug it. I really enjoyed it, even though the CGI within that moment was a little bit questionable. But again, going back to the Night Demon. But then, you got King Arthur who faces off against the Night Demon. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I want to try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. But I really loved the design of the Night Demon. And the fact that how its cloak was sort of like sparks of ember and smoke. And I really dug the look of the Night Demon. But there were moments within this sort of confrontation that it just looked a little bit too CGI. But that, for me, was a minor gripe, because overall, I really enjoyed that moment and the overall film. I really did enjoy the overall film. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this film. I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be. Like I said, it's bombed at the box office. I think just before I did this review, I checked, it's taken 55 million on a budget of 175. Not good. It's not really not looking good. But what I want, anyone who watches this review and what you haven't seen King Arthur yet, I do recommend you at least check it out, because it really is not as bad for me personally. Anyway, this is just me. You might go and you might hate it, but I think just give it a chance. I really want people to give this film a chance, because I came out after it and I thought, well, I don't think it's fair that the film has received the criticism that it has received, because it really was not as bad as I thought it was going to be, purely because of the reviews. And to be honest with you, the trailers didn't exactly blow me away either, but I ended up enjoying this film a lot more than I thought I was going to, and that is why I'm going to be giving a King Arthur Legend of the Sword a B. So, have you guys seen King Arthur yet? What did you think? Let me know below. What did you think of my opinions and thoughts of King Arthur? Again, let me know below and let's get a discussion going. I got a couple of videos coming up. I've got the latest Transformers trailer reaction video, and the Star Trek Discovery TV show trailer reaction I'm going to be doing as well. So I've got those two videos coming up straight after this one. I haven't done a trailer reaction for a while, actually, so I'm looking forward to doing those. And again, once again, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And if you like what you see and you share the same passion as me, then why not hit subscribe?